So in front of us we have the silver iPhone 7 Plus. As you see, they moved the antenna lines to the top to give it more streamline on the back, which is a nice job. This comes in 5 different colors. You can get the iPhone in jet black, which is more of a shiny black like this. You can get it in the black color, which has been around for a while. Once again, I got the silver, and then you can get it in the gold and rose gold. Okay, so and then the Samsung, you can get this in 4 different colors, which is the black onyx, the blue coral, the gold, and the silver. So jumping into it, the difference between the two phones, starting from the top, is the size. As you see, the phones are a little bit different size. The iPhone 7 Plus is 6.2 inches going up. It is 3.7 going across, and the thickness of it is 2.9 or 0.29 inches, right? So it's a very thin phone. On the Samsung device, we've run a little bit different. It's 6.04 from the bottom to the top. Going side to side is 2.91 inches, and then the thickness of it is a little bit thicker than the iPhone at 3.1 inches. Now, one of the things that you'll notice right off the back is that, sorry, I'm getting text messages. You'll notice right off the back is that the iPhone screen is 5.5 inch screen, and the Samsung is actually rocking a 5.7. So they were able to get a bigger screen and a smaller device. And the reason why is because this goes from screen to screen. If you look at the difference of it, let me see if I can get into the phone. This has a waterfall effect all the way across it, and it streams off the edges, which is really nice. You have these bevels on the iPhone that actually are nice to have, because sometimes with this you get the fingerprint ghost touch. So if I'm holding it and my hand touches this line right here, this is actually still a screen. As you see right there, I can change it. So sometimes that gets in the way, but from aesthetically pleasing, it's a cool thing to have. With the iPhone, if I'm holding it, if I'm touching it, I got these little bezels on the side to give me that extra room so that my big grizzly paws is not actually on the screen. So that's something that you can appreciate. But again, I give Samsung a lot of credit for getting a bigger screen and a smaller factor. I'm looking forward to the day when Apple does the exact same thing, where they can start getting rid of these bevels and just smushing and everything in. So another big thing about the two different screens is the resolutions. So this is a 1920 by 1020, which turns out to be 1080p LCD screen. Let me turn the brightness all the way up. The screen is brighter than it used to be, so Apple, thank you, good job for doing that. And it's still a great looking screen. I mean, it's still a 1080p screen. Unfortunately, when you compare it to the Samsung devices, which is using Super AMOLED screens, these screens are just super vibrant. Like, you can't really beat that, right? So this screen right here is 2560 by 1440. That turns out to be 518 pixels per inch. So you get 518 pixels per inch here, and you get roughly 400 pixels per inch here. So as you can see, there's a difference, right? So from brightness, from a clarity, from a visual standpoint, the Samsungs, I mean, I would say most of the Android devices are killing it, because they're using Super AMOLED screens, which the rumor is in 2018 iPhone's gonna switch over to that too. So that's a big deal. As far as the weight of the phones, the iPhone is 188 grams, and that's because of this aluminum body. I mean, I don't care what you say, the build quality of the iPhone is exceptional. It feels exceptional in the hand. I love when you haven't touched it in a while, you pick it up, it's nice and cold because of this aluminum body. But with that body, with that extra bezels, it does make the phone a little bit heavier, okay? So just keep that in mind. With the Samsung, it's 169 grams. That's because they used a glass back, so that reduced the weight right there, and the majority of the phone is glass. Downside of that, if you drop this boy on concrete or anything, it's going to break. I've seen a ton of them out here where the S7s, even the S6s, where people drop them, and if it hits that back, it's going to spider crack all the way up. Not a good thing to have. With the iPhone, if you drop it, you're just going to dent the aluminum. So we're not talking about if you're going to break the screens or not, but we're just talking about if you drop it on this back, you're more likely going to scratch and dent the aluminum. So I prefer the aluminum back just from its durability standpoint. So that brings us down to some of the other specs. The internal specs on the RAM, this is 3 gigabytes of RAM internal. This is 4 gigabytes of RAM. I know more always sounds better, but in this case, it really doesn't matter, because the way the iPhones run and how efficient the iPhones are, they actually run better with less RAM. With Android, because Android is built for being a multitasking machine, all these processors can run at multiple different times, which will eat up that RAM. Okay, so don't get caught up in the 3 gig of RAMs, gigabytes of RAM versus 4 gigabytes of RAM. Both of these phones have many years to go, and they run superbly with no issues at all. The difference, storage, base model is 32 gig for the iPhone, and it goes 32 gig, 128 gig, and 256 gig. Good job to Apple on that. Samsung, the base model and only model I have is 64 gigabyte, but this phone has an SD card. So I can add another 256 gigs on top of the 64 I already have built in. So I'm always a fan of SD cards just because I like to keep my data on the SD card. If my phone breaks or something happened, I always have backup and just pull the SIM card out, which gives me the SD card, swap it to another phone, and I didn't lose any of my data. And I don't have to worry about always backing up. You have the option of cloud and everything that's out there these days in iTunes, so it's not a big deal. But I'm saying for me, I like to have an SD card in my phone. Battery life. This boy right here rocks a 2900 milliamp battery, and this is 3500 milliamp. Again, not too big of a difference when it comes to the battery lives. Why? Is because how efficient the iPhone is. The screen, because the screen resolution is less than what the the Note 7 is, it doesn't drain as much juice because of the way how efficient these processors run. This is an A10 processor. These processors run more efficient, therefore they use less battery life. They don't have all these other tasks running in the background, so they use less battery life. Standby time, they finally about equal now. So they did finally get that together in Android when it came to standby time. But overall, your battery life is going to be just as good on the iPhone as a Note 7, if not better. I said it. The iPhone 7 Plus battery life will be just as good, if not better, than the Note 7. Guaranteed. So that's not a big deal. Again, this is running an A10 processor. Apple always kills it on their processor. The single cores blow everyone away because of how the system is built to run. Apple, creates the chip. They create the software all in-house. Boom, can't get no better. These right here are running the 820. This is a US version, Snapdragon processor, and some of them run the Equinox, I think it's the 8890 or 950 overseas models. There's not a huge difference between the two now. It was when the S7 came out, but I feel like they tweaked them enough so that the two models are comparable. So that's something to keep in mind too. But from a fluidity standpoint, these boys will run and run well. So you don't have to worry about that at all. So let's jump into the big differences about the phones. And let's talk about it. So first thing for the iPhone, they got rid of the home button. So I know you see the home button here, but it doesn't press in like it used to. It's a capacitive home button. So when you feel it, you feel that, I think they call it haptic feedback. So you feel a click. It even makes a click sound, but it's not actually a physical button anymore. They did this to waterproof the phones, which at first, I'm gonna be honest, I was a little upset about this because I didn't like it. But now that I've had it for a couple of days, I'm starting to get used to it. I still prefer the button. I still have my iPad Mini 4 upstairs. I prefer the button, but overall, it's fine. It does what it's supposed to do. So you get your power button, you get your SIM card at the top. No buttons, no holes, no nothing. On the left side, you get your mute button, which I love. Volume rocker up and down. And on the bottom, you get your speakers and your lightning jack. No headphone jack. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And on the Note 7, you get your SD card and your SIM card tray. Microphone. Right hand side, you get your power button. Left hand side, you get your volume rocker up and down. On the bottom, you get your speaker, your S Pen, USB Type-C, and your headphone jack. Okay? As far as the cameras on these phones, the rear camera on the iPhone has two cameras. It has a 1.8 aperture camera and a 2.8 aperture camera, and it has a quad LED flash. On the Note 7, you get a 12 megapixel, and both of these are 12 megapixels. You get a 12 megapixel 1.7 aperture, which is less than the 1.8 and the 2.8 that comes on here. And then you get your standard LED flash and your heartbeat sensor. So let's talk about the cameras and how big of the differences the cameras is. iPhone is not the first company to put dual cameras in a phone. Okay, Huawei and a couple other companies already did that this year. And those cameras have proven to be great cameras. Okay, the iPhone camera is a great camera. The zoom functionality of the camera is a nice feature to have, So what the second lens does, it turns the camera into a telephoto lens, which allows you to zoom in closer to your targets that you're shooting, and give you some vivid and some vibrant pictures. It's a cool feature like bokeh, where you can, or bokeh as some people pronounce it, where you can sit there and take a picture of something and you can blur the background. That's really famous and known for DSLRs. Well, a lot of the cameras have the functionality to do that without having dual cameras, including the Note 7 and the S7 and some of the other cameras out there. Not knocking the iPhone, but I'm just saying it's not anything new. Where I will praise iPhone is because they dropped the aperture down to 1.8. In low light settings, the camera is much, much better than the 6S and the 6. The 6 is not even relevant, the 6S, okay? So I give them big credit on that. The zoom in functionality of the dual camera systems is really nice. I think once app designers get a hold of it and some of the cool creative things they come up with, I think you will be able to do more with the camera. As far as the quality of the pictures versus the Note 7, they're about 1-to-1, or the upper hand might go to the Note 7 by a tad bit. Nothing worth, swaying your decision from buying one or the other, but by a tad bit, it still goes to the Note 7, and the only reason why is because of the 1.7 aperture, okay? So 1.7, 1.8, and 2.8. The 1.7 on here, if you think about your hand, right, and you open up your hand and say that's 1.8, that's how much light is getting through on the 1.8 sensor. Well, when you have a 1.7 sensor, it opens it up even more and more light gets through. The more light that your sensor is able to read and absorb, is the more brighter your pictures are going to be in low light settings, okay? In daytime settings, that's irrelevant. Both of these cameras, and as you can see in the corners, I'm putting up pictures now, both of these cameras perform exceptionally well, okay? The iPhone 7 has an excellent zoom feature. The Note 7 can do the exact same thing, because most of the zoom feature for the iPhone 7 is actually software, not actually hardware, okay? So some of the hardware goes up to, I think, 5x goes up as being hardware, and then from the 5x to the 10x digital zoom, that's software enhanced. The Note 7 has the ability to do all of it with the software, and it can also zoom in further after you take a picture. So if you start spreading your fingers and you want to see the pictures, you can do so. So the iPhone produces a more realistic true tone picture. It's not oversaturated, and it doesn't pop as much as the Note 7 because it's not oversaturated. The contrast hasn't been changing. It tries to give you exactly a match of what's out there. The Note 7 saturates the pictures very heavily. I mean, it's a very heavy saturation, but the pictures pop and they stand out big time because of that. So, I mean, that's a personal preference. It's up to you what you really like. Like I said, you can see pictures that's going on right now comparing the two. I personally don't have a preference on either one, just because they both look great. They both do amazing pictures. In low light settings, the Note 7 edges it out just a tad bit, but it isn't anything that will sway my decision on which phone to buy. No question at all. On the front facing camera, it's a different story. So the iPhone has a 7 megapixel camera, and Samsung is still rocking with the same old busted 5 megapixel camera. Not happy about that. They should be doing at least 8 megapixels, if not more. A lot of Android manufacturers have already switched to 8 megapixels. I'm knocking the Note 7 big time. I'm knocking you, Samsung, for putting a 5 megapixel camera in there. That's just lazy, okay? The iPhone, you have, like I said again, a 7 megapixel camera, which is awesome. The clarity of it is awesome. The f-stop is 2.2, and it is a great looking front facing camera, period. There's no way to put it, there's no way to put it on that. That's another thing that's new on the iPhones with iOS 10. It's no more swiping. Like, you used to swipe up to get to you just press the home button. I'm still trying to get used to that. That's the way Android's been for a while, but it's still just like, I don't know, it's just weird. But I like it a lot, so don't even trip. I'm not saying anything negative. So both of these phones have video recording, slow motion, 60 frames per second, yada yada yada. There's nothing new or exciting there. They both have front facing flash. So what happens is the screen turns white and gets real bright when it takes a picture of you. So it gives you a chance to be able to take low light settings, you know, selfies. Everybody loves the selfies these days, right? So I gave Apple the big ups on that one for sure, just because of the fact that they added that 7 megapixel camera on that. Big deal. Stylus. This is where it becomes different. This is a phablet tablet, okay? iPhone is just a bigger phone of the iPhone 7. Now, again, I'm not knocking it. It works extremely well. But for productivity, the hand has to go up to the Note 7 because of the pen. The fact that you can do anything you want with the pen. I'm not left-handed, I'm right-handed, okay? But the fact that you can sit here and you just take notes. All I did was pull the pen and I can just take notes. I can crop I can crop pictures. I can crop any video I want, so I can go to YouTube. I can make a GIF out of it, or a GIF, whatever you want to pronounce it. And I can just make that, record it live, write it to my friends and send it. That's dope. The features with this pen is undeniably the difference between these two phones, in my opinion, okay? If you're a person who would actually use this pen is amazing. The amount of things you can do with this pen is amazing. I'm all in for the pen. This is some of the options that you have right here. Create a note, smart select, screen write. You can translate. Like, the pen itself is outstanding and it feels great in the hand, okay? Again, this is only important for those who are used to using the pens or want something, you want to step your Snapchat game up, the pen will do so, okay? The iPhone doesn't have a pen. That's probably the biggest difference. Waterproofing. Apple finally introduced waterproofing this year, which is great. So this right here is IP67. This is IP68. It's not a big difference between the two. This is more water resistant, but so let's get that clear. It's not waterproofing, it's water resistant. You can drop both of these into 5 meters of water and your phone should be good for about 30 minutes. I don't suggest you go swimming with your phones. I don't care how good they get waterproof wise or water resistant. I don't do it. But if you spill a beer, you spill your drink, you drop it in the toilet, which a lot of people have done, in the tub, you're straight. You're good to go. You don't have to worry. Now, one area that Apple has really improved is the speaker quality. Now they have stereo speaker. It's not the same as front-facing speaker for those who've had like the Nexus 6, the HTCs, and some of those features where they have a speaker here and a speaker here. But Apple does have stereo speaker. What they did is they basically used their speaker at the top for a secondary headphone, or excuse me, a secondary speaker, as well as they still have the bottom facing speaker. So what I'm gonna do real quick, I'm gonna play a video comparison of the two, just so you can see that the speaker on here is definitely much better than it is on the Note 7. Alright, so that's the iPhone, right? So now here's the Galaxy. The speaker on the iPhone is definitely a lot better. It sounds like it's coming straight forward towards you because of that front-facing speaker, or the way they integrated that speaker right there to be a front-facing speaker. Headphone jack. So a lot of people was complaining about this. I'm one of the biggest ones, is because I have high-end headphones that are wired. So either you can buy Bluetooth headphones with the iPhone, or you can use an adapter that they give you. Now, the adapter is not, it's just a plug-in adapter that goes into the lightning jack that looks like this. All you do is you stick it in the bottom of the phone and you plug in your headphones here. Meaning you got to carry this cable everywhere you go. I read online these replacement cables are $9, so it's not bad. They could have made them 30, like they do the majority of the accessories. But still, I'm not a huge fan of this. I think it's a terrible idea. And I know what everyone's going to say is just buy Bluetooth headphones, buy Bluetooth headphones. I have several, but my high-end headphones are not Bluetooth, okay? I don't want to spend another $400 to replace my headphones. I'm not a fan of that. As far as the ability to charge and listen to wire headphones, I have not figured that out yet. I don't think there is a cord out there. I'm hoping that there is a splitter that allows it, but as of now, there's not. And as of the Note 7, it just has a standard headphone jack. I think anyone who removes a standard headphone jack is crazy to force you to buy Bluetooth headphones. I don't want to spend $150 for Apple's headphones. You know, they got the AirPods or the Apple Pods or whatever they call them, and to me, that's not a big deal. Like, I don't want to spend $150 for them, period. I have the Bluetooth headphones that I like, but I like what I like. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is. So, as far as OS, I'm not going to go into OS systems. iOS 10, and this is Android 6.01. If you know anything about the cell phones, there's been a big difference between the two systems forever. You know, this is more of a single tasking and this is more of a true multitasking phone. Apple is incorporating a lot of cool stuff, widgets on the home screen and all that type of stuff now, becoming more like Android, and Android's starting to reduce some of the things that it can do, and it seems like eventually they're going to meet right here in the middle. Fingerprint sensors, they both have them. So both have the fingerprint scanners on the home buttons, and they both work absolutely well. As you see, I just logged into the Note 7, and the iPhone has it set up as usual as well. So that's nothing new. Pay systems. This has Apple Pay. This has Samsung Pay. I will be frank. Here in the US, Apple Pay works at probably a lot of the stores, but it's NFC only, okay? Meaning that has to have an NFC terminal. Samsung Pay works with like 99% of every store you go to that has a credit card reader because of the MIS technology that they have built in, which is a proprietary software and hardware feature that Note 7 has and Samsung has. Samsung did not create it. They purchased it from another company, but because of that, this wins when it comes to pay systems without a doubt. Video calling, they both have this has FaceTime, this has Google Dui, this has Hangouts, so not a big difference there. Wireless charging, no. Wireless charging, yes. Some people say it's not a big deal, but it is a huge deal for me because every night when I go to sleep, I just throw it on my docking station. Boom, it's charged. When I wake up, I grab it, or if I wake up in the middle of the night, if I want to play Clash of Clans, I'm grabbing it, putting it down back and forth. I don't have to deal with a cord. When I'm at work, I just drop it on my docking station, and it stays charged 24/7. If I get up, grab it, come back, sit down. For me, that's a huge thing. I love wireless charging, okay? This has 3D touch effect in the home button or in your buttons itself. If you press something and hold it, it'll give you that second menu. This is a hardware feature in the iPhone. The Note 7 does not have this, but Android does have it in the software feature. There's launchers like Action Launcher that's been out for years. If you hold on anything that you set up to it, it'll show you a secondary menu. But this is a hardware feature, so developers can take advantage of that a little bit more. And I think overall, over time, this may become a big deal. It came out last year, and so far it hasn't been a big deal, but I think in the future it may come out with something creative. That's what it is. So this has been my ramble. This has been my tech specs head to head. Personally, I think they're both great phones. Which one I'm going to choose is which one I'm going to choose. I'm not telling you because I don't want y'all to be biased or think I'm biased, but I'm happy with both. I'm going to keep both. They're both my phones, and that's what it is. So if you got any questions, concerns, please rate, subscribe, drop some comments below. Let me know what you think, and I appreciate you. So until the next time, stay tech and stay be swift.